Welcome, everyone, to the variety show Without a Clue. Guests from all over the world come from all walks of life and all careers to come on and tell us about themselves and give us a little bit of their insight. So grab a seat, relax, and listen, because this is the Leo Effect. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I have a great and fantastic guest joining me today. He's somebody that I think all of us in my particular generation grew up with. Today, I am joined by Mr. Richard Karn. How are you doing today, sir?
Good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon. It depends on, I guess, when people are listening.
Yeah, all across the world. with
All right.
any luck, that is. So we'll just kind of jump right into it. A lot of times people know the character more so than the actual actor's name. I'm not entirely sure why that is the case. But would you?
Well, because they would have to read. It's in the
Oh,
credits.
yeah,
And
that's
you don't want
true.
to have to read the credits. You just want to know the character's name.
Right. That's when you're trying to get to your car to get out before everybody else does.
There you go.
Well, could you take a quick second? I mean, I could do it, but I think it's always best to come from the guest. Can you kind of say what some of your more notable stuff is and get it out there for the audience to know who you are?
Oh, holy smokes. Well, I guess the obvious is 8 seasons of Home Improvement, where I played Al Borland, who was on a show within the show called Tool Time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I did 4 years of being the host of Family Feud. I've done lots of movies, lots of plays. I'm doing a series right now on Hulu called Pen 15, where I play the dad of a girl who's in 7th grade, and all the trials and tribulations that go on in 7th grade. So it's more
The
about her than
many.
it is about me.
Well, as a parent, I can tell you it's definitely about the parents too.
Well, 7th grade was a turning point for me, particularly. I think because when I was growing up, I had elementary school which was K through 6,
Right.
and then 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade was my junior high or middle school, and then my high school was just 10, 11, and 12. So in 7th grade, it was a whole new school. There was all new people, and I remember I got a D in art class. It
Oh,
was art appreciation or like that. And my mom's an artist, and I think she was devastated that I would get, because it was art history and things like that. It wasn't actual artistic ability.
right.
But anyways, I remember it came down that, listen, you either bring your grades up or you can't go skiing. And snow skiing was something that was pretty big in my hometown, and I had just started learning how, and miraculously my grades came way up. They shot up to like B's and A's. So
Holy cow.
I think it was motivation, and
Right.
I thank my parents for that.
Now, speaking of that little interjection, you were originally, or your full name would be Richard Karn Wilson, right? And then you had to shorten it for some reason.
Well, I had to not use Richard Wilson because there was already an actor in the union,
Oh,
um,
okay.
which I finally saw him in something. Richard Wilson, he was in a show called Merlin. He played the older mentor to young Merlin.
Yes. Okay. I saw the TV show, right?
The TV show, right?
Yeah.
And that's Richard Wilson.
Oh, see, it's then
So
that's what I
I went
never
with
watched the credits. I'm one of them. I'm one of
There
them.
you go. Well, I saw my name and I was like intrigued. I go, really? That's who that was? And so, so I went to my middle name, Richard Karn, which was my dad's middle name because it was his mother's, my grandmother's maiden name.
Oh, okay.
So, and I actually got to know, my great grandparents, George and Myrtle.
Oh,
George Karn. They came down from Canada, from Ottawa, and they were kind of like Dutch Canadian.
Hmm. Well, all right then.
And he was a piano tuner, which is kind of an interesting, idea that back then piano tuners were people that plied their craft around the city, I guess.
Right. Yeah. That's not something you hear too often anymore.
No.
Not in
And
the digital age.
one of the family cherished heirlooms was a well, by the time I got to it, it was dismantled, but it was a cuckoo clock that apparently was built by Mr. Steinway
Oh,
as a gift to my great grandfather George.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story.
Well,
So
that's what you get on this show, right?
exactly, that's my goal here. So I do. This is before we started recording. I had brought up that there was kind of a selfish question, and I'm kind of eager to know it, and I hope that maybe some listeners out there are kind of wondering as well. So you also played on a show called Last Man Standing,
I did.
and you were kind of an antagonist almost in that little bit, weren't you? I mean, would you say so?
Well, I don't think it started out as an antagonist. The character. It's odd because I don't think they really wrote it for me to play it necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
My agents, I guess, just kind of submitted me, and when I said I would do it, the writers went, "Oh, well, shoot, we have a chance here to do something interesting, with an old colleague of Tim."
Right.
In a different venue. So, my character was really, he was an architect who had built the original big stores for the big sporting goods stores that Tim is manager of,
Right.
or whatever. And they were going to downsize them into a smaller unit that would go into a mall. And so I was there to get the job to do that. And then I think his wife intervened and said, well, why does it have to be a guy? Maybe there's a female architect out there that's really good. And ultimately they went with her, and my character then came back a few episodes later as somebody whose whole life just crumbles.
Right.
The next time we see me, I'm like, my wife has left me. I've lost my job. I'm an alcoholic, or I'm drinking, and I'm drunk at a baseball game and get punched out. So
right.
I'm still waiting for my Phoenix moment. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
the character only got 2 shots at it. We need the third where he rises from the ashes.
I would be an advocate for that. I think that'd be great. But so that leads me, now that you've given the background of it, that leads me to my question. So
Okay.
you had this character Al that you played for so long, and he was such a sweet and nice guy, almost the savior of the show, because he saved Tim's life how many times? But then you played this other character who's kind of, he's down on his luck. He's kind of cashed out a little bit, and he's a jerk. So in your opinion, which did you prefer to play?
Oh gosh, I think, and I don't know exactly how to put this, but I think the characters that we really cherish playing are the ones that are well written, and whether it's defined in the writing of it, or if it's something that just resonates with the particular actor. We find something that that we just go with and love, and that's what makes a great combination, actor role. So I just like playing things that are well written and have a beginning, a middle, and end. It's really hard when you come in as a guest star on something where you're just kind of there to facilitate a lesson learned by the guy whose show it is.
I
sometime.
see.
In some way, Al Borland in Home Improvement always had to keep learning lessons, just as Tim had to keep learning the same lesson sometimes over and over in just a different episode.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the nature of that particular storytelling.
I see. I gotcha.
Yeah.
So what was it that made you wake up one day and decide that you wanted to be an actor? Because you were an apartment building manager prior to that, weren't you?
I was many things. I had many years to matriculate into becoming a television show actor. However, I think, roots of my acting abilities started in like the fifth grade with doing a Thanksgiving play, and then oddly enough, I remember my dad would bring home comedy albums, and I would listen to these comedy albums, and I could mimic them, and tell those stories in a way. That's kind of how I started out, and then through junior high and into high school, I auditioned for a school play in high school and got it as a freshman or a sophomore, 10th grade, and did well. And it was very exciting being on stage and hearing people laugh and having, feeling very comfortable up there, even though I was scared, to death. But it was very satisfying, and I think that probably was a big factor of me pursuing that.
That's great. Do you have any advice for anybody that's, kind of in that, not necessarily that same situation, but that's trying to break into this career field? Do you have any, words of wisdom?
I thought I had like great ideas until I had a son who then grew up and he wants to be an actor, and all the things that I'm saying, he says, "Oh, Dad, that's so outdated. Nobody does that anymore."
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I'm going, really, because I just kind of kept putting myself in position, looking for work, looking to do summer theater, small theater, just working, just putting myself in front of that until something hit or clicked. But it's now there are so many different ways of putting yourself in front of things. I mean, you can do it in your room with your cell phone. If you can figure out a compelling story and tell it, people will watch. So gosh. I'm saying you should keep exploring everything and read. Just read a lot of different types of things, because when you play characters or you are creating stories, they're all kind of the human story of stuff that we're not reinventing too many things, but it's how we say it. It's how our particular minds work and say things. So the more you read, the more you can get into the mind of somebody who's a billionaire, or somebody who's a murderer, or somebody who's an artist, or and you can see how other people think, and you can kind of massage that into your character that you're going to be playing. So the more ammunition you have, the more arrows in your quill, you can do more things.
Gotcha. That's some good advice. I like it. I'll buy that for $1.
It's very simple advice, but it's not always the easiest thing to do, because you have to read. You have to take the time to prepare. You have to take the time to look at stuff and not be afraid of where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like technology. The older people don't push the buttons. They don't explore and see, oh, swipe here this way, or maybe I won't swipe, maybe I'll go up, I'll go down. Kids just do that, and
right.
They figure out the machine quicker.
It's true. It's very true. I have stuff around my house I still don't know how to use, and I'm only 37. So I got you.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
what was it like working on occasion with your actual wife on set?
It was great. I mean, we met. My wife and I met doing a play. We weren't in necessarily the same scenes. Well, we were in the same scenes, but our characters weren't together. They were separate. But we met, and we've done, I don't know, 4 or 5 plays. I just did a play with her last season in Kansas City. We did a play called Sheer Madness and had a great time. Now, when she auditioned for Home Improvement, that was, her audition for Home Improvement was, about, I don't know, 8, 9 years after we had been married. We got married in the mid '80s, and Home Improvement didn't start till '91, and she probably came in '92 or '3 or '4, somewhere in there. And so when she had the audition to play one of Jill's sisters, it was exciting and great that she got the job, and then terrifying if it didn't work out. Because sometimes, we'll show up and that actor will be gone because it wasn't working right or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, which is not to say that their talent isn't good. It wasn't clicking. But Tootie, my wife rose to the occasion and was brilliant. I mean, they changed the character on her 2 or 3 times. She started out as being a high-end server on a private jet, and then ended up being a photographer who traveled the world. So, there's like very different stuff going on in 2 or 3 days of rehearsal.
Right.
So, but she did a great job, and it was really kind of satisfying to see her do that.
That's cool. That's
yeah.
really cool. Was there any situations where she's like, "Did you remember to take the trash out?"
What do you mean?
Like you're both on set, you're getting ready to shoot for the day, and she just kind of walks over and says, "Hey, did you remember to take the trash out this morning?"
No, those kind of things are usually after rehearsal.
Oh, okay.
When we're rehearsing, or we're kind of focused. We're focused on getting the job done,
right?
Instead of our laundry lists. But
that's great.
That's funny.
So you had said earlier on that you're part of the union. For somebody that's maybe pondering that idea, obviously you elected to join the union. Do you recommend that for everybody, or is that something that people should hold off on, or what's your advice on that whole thing?
Yeah, when you're getting into this business and you're trying to navigate all those different things, I don't know. You can become fixated on trying to get something, and if it's going to come, it's going to come naturally. I mean, when I moved to New York, with a few advantages. I left the college that I was at, the University of Washington, was part of a League of Professional Actor Training programs that had auditions for their senior class, and so when I got to New York, I had auditioned and gotten an agent, and so I kind of hit the ground running, and I got a commercial my first week, and I didn't have to join the union the first commercial, but the second commercial I would have to join, and that was daunting because it was like $600 to join, but I really wanted to do that, and I think I joined SAG first, and then came in through the back door on Equity, which is the theater union, Actors Equity.
Cool. Have you gone? I'm not entirely familiar with how this all fits into it, but have you ever been to any conventions or like autograph signings where you're sitting at a table and crazy geeked out fans are coming up to get your autograph and they want pictures and stuff?
I have done that a couple times, and it's very interesting. It's kind of fun, and then also you kind of see where you are in the scheme of things. I'm like sitting there, and I've got people coming up to me, but then down the line, there's the guy that was in a movie called Willow, and he had like a line out the door, and I'm going, wow. I wish I was that popular, kind of thing. So it can kind of be weird, but it's also interesting to do. It's not something that I thought about when I got into this business. This whole side cottage industry of signing autographs and things like that was not kind of anything I was familiar with or even thought was possible. But then, once you get into this show, or a big show where a lot of people just know you because of it, it becomes a whole different thing. When I was doing theater, when I was doing regional theater, I'd go to a town like Louisville and do Actors Play of Louisville, and we'd go out to dinner, and maybe one or two people would come up and go, "Hey, we saw you in the show. That was great. This and that," and you feel, "Oh yeah, somebody knows me in this different town." But so when you do a show that 32 million people watch it a night, you get a lot more people coming up to you, and it was a little scary at first. I almost I didn't feel worthy, and so people would say, "Hey, are you that guy from Home Improvement?" I go, "No, I look like him, but no, I'm not that guy." I didn't know what to say. I didn't feel worthy. And then after a while, you realize, okay, it's not really about me. It's not about that. It's about people. You're in their living room, and so be gracious and say, yeah, that's me, and thank you for watching.
That's great. So people are still doing that to you, like, to this day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they can't imagine how I just show up. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like whatever town I'm in. It's like, oh my gosh, do you live here? Is this what No, I don't live here, but
well,
yeah, I am.
In a brief moment of candidacy here, I'll admit that when the opportunity arose that I would be able to speak with you, I kind of had one of those moments like, oh, this is amazing. This can't really be happening. How is this happening? I'm just a normal guy in upstate New York. How's this happening to me? So that's great. I can relate.
Yeah. It's on so many different levels. I remember early on, my wife, after the first season, she went back to do a play in New York again, and so I went back, and actually Angelina, the woman who's married to Matt Williams, who created the show, she produced a play off Broadway, and I went back to see it, and in the audience or backstage after the show, this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Excuse me, I want to introduce myself. I'm Ben Vereen," and I went, "I know who you are." And he was introducing himself to me because he loved, he liked the show, and that was kind of like the first time something like that had ever happened to me, which was really kind of caught me off guard. But it was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, well, I guess this would happen. Why wouldn't it happen? People are people. They're just, they introduce each other.
Right. Yeah. So you said that you've been doing some plays, and like we had talked about before, you've got a lot of stuff under your belt, and we're still waiting on the Phoenix Rise in Last Man Standing and all that, which I really hope somebody passes this along. Hint, hint. But are you working on anything else? Do you have any big projects that are coming along that you want to let people know about?
Well, on Monday, I start rehearsals for a play I actually did about 4 or 5 years ago. It's a panto version of Aladdin.
Oh.
And we're going to do that in Nashville. I'm going to Nashville for 2 weeks in December to do a play, to do Aladdin and His Winter Wish.
That's cool.
There's that, and then of course Pen 15 is going along
in
its second season. And oh gosh, what else? I just did a couple of movies this fall. One is out there. The trailer for it is out there. It's Horse Camp, and I don't know if you go online, if you go on Facebook, there's versions of it on my feed, and then also let's see, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Is that like next Tuesday? the 26th
Yes.
or so. I've got a movie called Check Into Christmas on the Hallmark Channel.
Oh, getting into Hallmark already. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we know what that means.
They have their own conventions now. There's like the Christmas Con. And
I actually had not heard that. This is a first for me.
Yeah, so all these people that do, because Lifetime and Hallmark, they do about 40 Christmas movies a year. So there's a lot of those out there.
It really feels like they do more than that, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, it accumulates,
Right.
40, 80, 120.
Yeah, I was going to say, they've been doing it for a while now, so that's great. So I just want to say, as things kind of draw to a close here, I want to thank you so very much for coming onto the show and talking to me and having a few laughs. It really has been my pleasure having you here. I'm so humbled.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I
had a good time.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. And I hope everybody that listens to this kind of absorbs your wisdom like I'm trying to, and, just takes your advice. Go for it. Don't just get out there. Put yourself out there. Get it.
I know, and it's easy to say that, and it's hard to live it sometimes. There were many times when I just thought, what am I doing? I can't save any money. I'm barely squeezing by, but I was very fortunate. I had a very low overhead in New York City. I had very low rent. I didn't have a car. I didn't have insurance, so I could get by on very little money and be a waiter, be a balloon deliverer, be an apartment manager. Like you said earlier on, I was an apartment manager when I got home improvement, but really that was only because I would get free rent.
Oh,
I was helping the guy who owned the building, put people in there. But if you think about it, I think my rent at that point was something like $900. So I was working for $900 a month, basically.
Wow, that's great.
But I got free rent. Yeah.
Is there anywhere that you probably don't want people just randomly messaging you and things like that, but is there anywhere that you would like people to kind of go to and sign up and follow your goings-ons?
Oh gosh, no. I'm not that advanced. I am on Facebook and I'm on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't put stuff out there as regularly as I should. I know people have people that do that for them, and just kind of put out something every day like that. But I throw stuff out there every once in a while. But as my son says, I should worry about more clicks and eyeballs on my feeds. Well, you did ask me about what I do online. There is an interesting thing called Cameo, and people have accessed Cameo and me through Cameo to wish them happy birthday or good luck on their wedding or whatever. And I've been doing that, and that's been kind of fun. That's been very interesting. I've helped out a few people that weren't feeling well or whatever, and so it's always interesting just to throw that out there. So I do have a Cameo life out there.
Okay, and I will put a link to that in the description of the video, or the description of the audio, I should say. So make sure to give that a click and check that out too.
All right, buddy.
Once again, I greatly appreciate you coming on and talking to me. It's fantastic. I hope that the listeners out there enjoyed the show as well. It's because of listeners like you that I keep putting out this content, and it's only going to get better from here. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you later.
All right.
Hey everyone, this is Ray. Thank you for listening. It's because of listeners like you that I'm able to keep this show going. For more of my shenanigans, check out Realm of the Mist Entertainment, where I'm co-host to Breaking the Fourth Wall, War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, Lemmy Stormkiller on Four Corners of Hell, and finally, The Chronicler on Chronicles of the Lost Realm. You can also find me at Shattered Dungeons on YouTube, playing an awesome game called Shattered Dawn. For contact information or to be on the show, check out theleoeffects.wixsite.com/podcast today.